You've spent your entire life trying to become someone better, someone stronger, someone more in control. But what if the one you're trying to improve was never really there to begin with? Sounds crazy, right? But stay with me. What you call you might just be a character built from memory, fear, and repetition, an illusion so convincing you've never questioned it. Until now. In this video, you'll uncover the truth that most people will spend their entire lives avoiding. And once you see it, there's no going back. This isn't another motivational speech. It's not about becoming more confident, more successful, or more enlightened. It's about seeing through the biggest lie you've ever believed, that there's a solid, fixed you behind your thoughts, your choices, your identity. The greatest spiritual awakening doesn't feel like gaining something. It feels like something quietly falling away. And when it does, you'll realize the freedom you've been chasing was already here, waiting, watching. And maybe it wasn't waiting for you at all. 1. The search for the self. Most people go through life without ever stopping to ask the one question that could change everything. Who is the me behind all of this? Since childhood, we've been given a name, a story, a personality, and we just run with it. But let's slow down for a moment. Is this self actually something we chose, or is it just a package handed to us and never unwrapped? When someone says, "I'm not good enough," who exactly is speaking, and who taught that voice to speak that way? From school to relationships, from success to failure, we build layers on top of layers. I am what I do. I am what I own. I am what they think of me. It never ends. But let someone lose their job or go through a breakup, and suddenly they say, "I feel lost." That's the first crack in the illusion of self. If your identity can fall apart so quickly, was it ever real to begin with? This isn't philosophy, it's everyday experience. You can test this in simple ways. Try journaling tonight without using the word I and see how strange it feels. It's like the entire structure of our thinking collapses without that center. But what if the center was never actually there? Just an idea we've been repeating so often that we forgot to question it. Try asking a child who they are and watch them look confused before answering with something they've been told. Here's the deal. We all carry around this invisible mask and call it me. But who's wearing the mask? And why are we so afraid to take it off? Maybe, just maybe, the greatest lie we've ever believed is that this inner voice, this constant narration, was ever us. And if that cracks open even a little, you'll start to notice something else missing. 2. The mind can't find what doesn't exist. Think about how much time we spend inside our own heads, analyzing, remembering, planning. We assume that behind all this mental activity, there's someone in charge, a captain steering the ship. But here's the shocking part. Neither ancient spiritual seekers nor modern neuroscientists have ever been able to find that captain. Zen monks would sit in silence for years trying to find the self, only to laugh when they realized it wasn't there. Scientists scan every corner of the brain, and all they see are electrical signals and firing neurons. Activity, yes, but no one running the show. And yet, we live as if someone's there. That assumption forms the entire illusion of self. We think because thoughts are happening, there must be a thinker, but that's like hearing music and assuming someone's playing it inside your head. The mind is active, yes, but it doesn't prove a you exists at the center of it all. Philosophers like David Hume figured this out centuries ago. When he looked inward to find the self, all he found was a stream of perceptions, thoughts, emotions, sensations, always changing, never fixed. And if something is never the same from one moment to the next, how can it be called you? That's the trap of identity. We build it out of memory and thought, then wonder why it feels so fragile. To get this on a deeper level, try a little mental experiment. Sit in silence and just observe your thoughts without judgment. Don't try to stop them. Don't follow them. Just watch. What you'll see is that thoughts arise on their own. You don't think them. They show up, play out, and fade. You don't even know what your next thought will be. That alone should tell you something important. You're not thinking. Thinking is just happening, like the weather. And just like you don't control the rain, you don't control the thought patterns either. This realization hits hard the first time it sinks in. It's like realizing your whole life was driven by a ghost that never really existed. But it also opens the door to something far more powerful. If there is no fixed self, if the mind can't find a thinker, then maybe we've been searching in the wrong place all along. Maybe what we call me is just the wrong question altogether, and what remains when the question disappears is worth looking into next. 3. The voice in your head is not you. You know that voice. The one that narrates your day, like it's the main character of some never-ending movie. It tells you what's wrong with you, what you should have said, what you might lose, or what others might think. It never stops. But here's the twist. If you can hear that voice, then it can't be you. Think about that. If you are the one listening, observing, noticing, then the voice is just noise. And yet most people spend their whole lives trying to fix, argue with, or please that voice. That's like trying to repair a radio that never belonged to you in the first place. Let's take it further. The voice in your head doesn't just comment. It debates, contradicts itself, mocks you, praises you, then mocks you again 5 minutes later. If it were really you, would it turn on you like that? Of course not. It's a loop of memory, fear, conditioning, an echo of everything you've absorbed from the world. Parents, teachers, society, trauma, it all gets baked in, and out of that mix comes the voice. But you, the real you, the one that's silently aware of all this, is never part of the argument. That's pure awareness. Always still, always watching, never judging. If you want to see this more clearly, here's a simple but powerful practice. Next time your inner voice is talking, stop and ask, who is it talking to? Don't try to answer, just feel into it. There's the voice, and then there's the space it appears in. That space is your true nature, not a person, not a thought, just awareness. This is a key step in ego dissolution, not by force, but by insight. The ego dissolves when it's seen as unnecessary, as fiction. You don't kill the voice, you just stop mistaking it for you. And once that shift begins, something subtle starts to unfold. The voice still talks, but it's just background noise now, like a TV playing in another room. You might hear it, but you don't get pulled into it. That distance, however small, is the doorway. It's the beginning of spiritual awakening. And when you walk through it, something even stranger happens. You start to question the one who thinks they're thinking in the first place. And that's where we're headed next. 4. You are not the one thinking. Let's flip the most basic assumption upside down. You're not actually thinking. Sounds insane, right? But stick with this. Neuroscience has already shown that your brain begins an action before you become aware of deciding to do it. Lift your hand right now. Feel like you chose to do that? The data says otherwise. Your brain fired the signal milliseconds before the thought even appeared. The you that claimed the action arrived late. It's like showing up to a party and telling everyone you planned it. That's how deep the illusion of self goes. Thoughts don't come from you, they come to you. You never know what your next thought will be. Try predicting it. You can't. It just shows up unannounced, like a notification from an app you didn't even install. Sometimes helpful, sometimes toxic, always random. So if you're not choosing your thoughts, then how can you claim to be the thinker? You're more like the witness of thoughts than their creator. It's like clouds drifting across the sky. You're the sky, not the clouds. Pure awareness remains untouched by what passes through it. And yet we suffer deeply because we cling to those clouds. We believe every thought. We identify with every fear, every memory, every belief. But if you sit still, breathe slowly, and just watch the stream without interference, you'll notice something curious. Thoughts arise and pass. Emotions swell and fade. No one's doing it. Life is just moving through you. Even the feeling of I is just another thought, dressed up in authority. That's the heart of ego dissolution, when you no longer take mental activity as proof of a self. So if you're not thinking your thoughts, and you're not causing your actions, then what are you? Not a doer, not a thinker, not even the chooser. That realization can feel destabilizing at first, like pulling the floor out from under your sense of identity. But in that free fall, something else is waiting. Something quieter, more constant, more real. It's not something you do, it's something that's always been there, watching, waiting. And once you notice it, you'll start to realize it's been there long before the mind even knew what to call it. 5. Awareness is the only constant. There's something in you that's never changed. Not since you were a child, not through heartbreaks or victories, not even in moments of complete confusion. That silent presence. That's not a thought, not a belief, not a personality trait. That's pure awareness. Think back to when you were 5. The body was different. The mind was barely formed. But wasn't the sense of I am still there, untouched? This is what spiritual awakening points toward. Not some mystical state you have to earn, but the simple, quiet recognition of what's always been here. You can call it presence, consciousness, or even the witness, but the label doesn't matter. It's that part of you that sees the thoughts come and go without getting dragged into the drama. It watches sadness and joy like waves on an ocean without trying to control the tide. And here's the beauty of it. It's always been here, waiting for you to notice. Even right now, as you read these words, there's something in you that's aware of the reading. That awareness isn't thinking about awareness. It just is. You want something practical? Try this. Throughout the day, take short pauses and ask, am I aware? Not, what am I aware of? Just, am I aware? That moment of turning inward reveals the space behind the noise. Do it when you're walking, working, even arguing. That brief shift into observation reminds you of what's real. Awareness isn't a state you enter. It's the space you forgot you were already in. When you live from that space, even stress softens because you're no longer merging with every emotion or thought that flies by. This is where ego dissolution becomes effortless, not because you fought the ego, but because you stopped feeding it with identification. The more you rest as awareness, the more the illusion of self fades naturally. You don't have to be special to experience this. You don't have to meditate in the Himalayas. You just need to notice what's already noticing. And once you glimpse that, you'll realize something else. This awareness was never personal. It was never yours. And that changes everything about how you view the story called you. 6. The identity is a fiction. The person you think you are is a masterpiece of imagination, built from years of memories, praise, rejection, repetition, and survival. You didn't consciously create your identity. It was built for you, layer by layer. Family told you who you are. School trained you to behave. Culture shaped what you should value. And eventually, that entire pile of labels became what you call me. But if we stripped all that away, if you lost your name, job, beliefs, what would be left? Would you vanish, or would something still remain? That's the question the illusion of self tries to avoid at all costs. Imagine your identity like a character in a movie. The backstory, the habits, the preferences, they all feel real, but they're just props. A guy who grew up thinking he's bad at relationships might carry that into every connection, even if nothing proves it anymore. It's just an old script running in his head. And guess what? Most people never question the script. They play the role to perfection, but none of it is stable. None of it lasts. Even your taste in music, food, or humor, things you think define you, are always changing. If it all changes, how can any of it be the real you? Want a simple test? Think of a moment when you acted completely out of character. Maybe you lost your temper, or you suddenly felt peace where you usually feel anxiety. In those moments, doesn't your identity feel fragile, shaky? That's because it is. Personality is a collection of reactions, shaped by past experience and repeated until it feels familiar. That's all. There's no core self running the show, just a bundle of responses. This is why spiritual awakening often feels like a death at first. Because the fiction we thought was me starts to unravel. But here's the powerful part. When that identity dissolves, you don't disappear. Something remains, something much lighter. It doesn't need to prove anything. It doesn't care about titles, resumes, or stories. It's just here. That's the real shift. When you stop trying to be someone, you realize you've never been anyone. And in that space, life starts to breathe again. No pressure to perform, no mask to protect. Just reality as it is. And when you let go of needing control over the character, well, that's exactly what we'll uncover next. 7. Letting go of control is true freedom. Let's be honest. Control feels safe. It gives us the illusion that we can manage how people see us, how life unfolds, how we should feel. But have you ever really been in control? You didn't choose your parents, your childhood, your personality traits, or your most intense triggers. Most of the big stuff in your life came without your permission. So why do we cling so hard to the idea that we're the ones steering the wheel? The truth is, we're more like passengers than drivers. And strangely enough, that's the best news you'll ever hear. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly try to manage everything. Controlling your image, your future, your emotions. It's a full-time job with no vacation. And for what? Life still does what it wants. People leave, plans fall through, emotions surprise you. The moment you see that this I trying to manage life is just another illusion of self, the weight starts to fall off. What happens, happens. And yet life doesn't stop. The body still breathes, the heart keeps beating, things get done. But now it's not forced, it flows. If you want to experience this directly, try letting go in small, everyday moments. Skip controlling that conversation. Let someone interrupt you without reacting. Walk into a situation without needing it to go right. Notice how much mental tension loosens when you're not constantly trying to shape everything. This doesn't mean being passive. It means surrendering the illusion that you're the author of it all. And ironically, when you let go, you become more present, more grounded, and more alive. Real spiritual awakening doesn't feel like winning. It feels like surrender. It's the deep breath after years of holding everything tight. It's not about becoming perfect or enlightened. It's about no longer needing to be. Life starts moving through you instead of you pushing against it. That's true freedom. But even as all of this unfolds, there's still one mystery left. The quiet, watching presence that's been here the whole time. Who or what is that? Well, we're just about to look it in the eye. 8. Who is watching all of this? There's something unsettling, almost eerie, about realizing you've been watching your whole life unfold like a movie. Not as the main character, but as the one in the seat behind the screen. You've seen every thought, every panic, every success, and every breakdown, but who or what has been doing the watching? That's not a poetic question, it's real. If you're not the body, not the voice, not the thinker, then who's been quietly aware of it all since the beginning? Noticing the shifts, witnessing the chaos, feeling the peace. You might call it consciousness, pure awareness, the silent observer, but the name isn't the point. What matters is this. It doesn't change. It doesn't panic when your thoughts spiral. It doesn't flinch when you feel fear. It just watches, like the sky watching clouds pass. Whether it's raining or clear, the sky doesn't get involved. That's what you are. Not the thoughts, not the character, but the space they pass through. And the craziest part? This awareness was here before your name, before your opinions, before your life story even began. Here's a way to feel it for yourself. Sit down, close your eyes, and instead of focusing on your breath or a mantra, just notice what's noticing. Don't try to control the experience, just rest in that raw, silent attention. If you can stay there even for 10 seconds, you'll feel something shift. It's not mystical, it's deeply natural. It's like remembering something ancient that was never really lost. That's why so many spiritual teachings, both ancient and modern, all circle back to the same truth. You are not in reality. You are reality itself, experiencing a human moment. So here's the real question. If the story of you was never the real you, and everything you believed you were starts to dissolve, then what remains? Who's been watching all of this unfold? That presence behind your eyes, that stillness behind your thoughts, that's not a character, that's not a role. That's the real you. And if even for a second you truly see it, everything changes. Not because you become something new, but because you finally stop pretending to be something you never were.